YouTube. 10 years old. 10 years of obscure pop culture comedy in the forms of YouTube poop.
Hey, you!
10 years of AMVs. 10 years of internet celebrities.
Banking, extremely quick to anger.
You mean monkey?
Banking.
No, that's definitely a monkey.
Banking.
Whatever.
And 10 years of controversy.
The one is saying that you guys have ruined my life.
YouTube has had its good moments.
I'm dressed too sexily and you don't like it? Stop oppressing me!
And its bad moments.
Fuck you to all you 13, 14, and 15-year-old fucking little kids who are telling me I need to fucking lose weight!
Of course, extended periods of time are what we call sagas. So strap in and revisit some of the most notable sagas to have occurred in YouTube since its beginning. Hello friends and subscribers. It has been a while, hasn't it? Well, the winter months came and went, and I am pleased to tell you that I graduated from the college I attended with a 3.0 GPA, and have now entered the job market. And for those of you who may be curious, this was a private school, and it was free of cultural Marxism and safe spaces. Yeah, none of that degenerate shit went on there. And for those who are really curious, I do not plan on disclosing where I attended anytime soon. But now that that is over, I have more time for making videos and will be back to making more of them on a regular basis. Although I did warn that I probably would not be making videos in the first 6 months of this year, in or around the time Season 2 started. Now, as you can tell by the end of the title, I have altered what I said about the end of the last season. I ended with part 1 of the copyright wars, and said after the premiere of the first episode of Season 2 I would conclude it in episode 2 of Season 2, but since the copyright wars is probably the least popular subject, I said fuck it and decided to indulge you with a special treat. Before proceeding though, I have to admit I actually had no plans to add the subject of today's video into Season 2 until actually a couple months ago, back in March of this year. Prior to then, I never had even heard of this subject. I actually learned about him in my media law class, where he watched some of these clips as they related to the topic of political campaign and advertising on TV. But before getting on to the topic, it is also quite fitting because the year is 2016 AD, an election year here in the United States. And everyone even across the globe from Armenia to Zimbabwe knows our elections and who is running in them. It seems American politics has always been a media circus, or just a circus altogether, with moments that make people infamous rather than famous.
There would have been a deficit, but there wouldn't have been the commensurate, the kick to our economy.
To tackle the #1 job facing the middle class, and it happens to be, as Barack says, a 3-letter word: jobs. Jobs.
I'm not a witch. I'm nothing you've heard. I'm you.
We're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan, and then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
And lest we forget the quintessential cornerstone of the campaign season, the over-the-top ads, like this one from Carly Fiorina that sounds like it was narrated by Madara Uchiha.
Who would never lead us astray, his pedestal so high.
Leaving but one way to fall. I suppose we should not be surprised then, Tom, that you are the only Republican candidate to refuse to sign the Taxpayer Protection Pledge, no matter what office you were running for that particular week. Tom Campbell, is he what he tells us? Or is he what he's become over the years? A FCINO, fiscal conservative in name only. A wolf in sheep's clothing. A man who literally helped put the state of California on the path to bankruptcy and higher taxes.
At this point, there are still 3 people in the race from the 2 main parties. Don't worry, we'll acknowledge the losers who already lost too. But on the Republican side, we have the presumptive nominee for their party, billionaire Donald Trump.
We are going to use our great business people to negotiate unbelievable trade deals so we bring our jobs back and we don't let our companies go to Mexico and all of these other countries anymore. We're going to keep the jobs here. You're going to be very proud of this country very soon.
He is either the second coming of Reagan or the second coming of Hitler, depending on who you ask. On the Democratic side, we have Hillary Clinton, wife of Bill Clinton, who was president in the nostalgic 90s, and everyone's favorite philanderer. This is Hillary's second run for the presidency, having lost to Barack Obama in the Democratic primaries in 2008, and I think Razorfist was spot on with this point.
That is one evil dude.
It's just a movie, son. There's nobody that evil in real life.
Lastly, we got Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont.
In Vermont, billionaires do not buy town meetings, and in America, we are going to end a corrupt campaign finance system.
The first openly socialist candidate to run for president with a massive following, although much of his following is from young people around my age and possibly younger. He's like the Jewish grandpa that looks out for you. As for the losers, we had Ted Cruz, the Canadian Latino who is now the primary suspect of being a Zodiac killer, despite the fact he was just a baby when it happened. And then there was John Who the Hell Cares Who You Are Kasich, the generic Republican candidate. But at least he hugs his detractors. Of course, there was way more on who ran, but let's not bog ourselves down here. To say these people brought personality to the presidential race is an understatement. But then again, according to the C-SPAN caller, there was plenty of personality in the 2012 election as well.
I think it's very interesting to see how different this race is from previous races when you look at the amount of personality that you see in the Republican field. Herman Cain with his 999 plan, Rick Perry with his oops, Michelle Bachmann with her very hairy vagina.
Oh, excuse me, that was totally inappropriate and...
Alright, whether you are for Trump or Hillary or Sanders now, or were for Romney or Obama in 2012, what if I told you there was a candidate quite possibly far more likable than any of the lot we got running right now? Someone who is as fiercely patriotic as Trump without the inflammatory rhetoric, and someone as kind and unifying as Bernie without the socialism. And sorry, libertarians, I'm not talking about Ron Paul, although, to be honest, he kind of fits that too. But I am talking about someone who has also some rather unique and interesting positions, to say the least, and still lives his life like you or I do. The person I'm referring to is sort of like an older Forrest Gump. So much so, I think the girls watching will probably think this guy's adorable. I am also talking about someone who did not run for president either. And said it was the year of our Lord 2010, 6 years ago. This person ran for the governor of Tennessee on the Republican Party ticket. Instead of saying his name, I will let you introduce him in his campaign ad, and let you know what I meant by having some unique and interesting positions and platform.
Hello, citizens. This is BasilMarceau.com. I'm your Republican candidate for governor of Tennessee. I want you to put me in this building, the Capitol behind me here, so I can do my issues and make you all more freer than you were yesterday. When I become your governor, I'm going to move the capital to Chattanooga, Tennessee, at the State Building where Don Sundquist held his temporary office, so I can clean house and get rid of all the backroom politics that ruined our politics program in Tennessee. I'll probably take a year or two. So, once you all to vote for me, let me clean house. I would also plant vegetation on all vacant lots that they take from us when we build roads, and plant and turn it into ethanol and cash it in for gas or money. Then I also stop traffic stops, make judges listen to the oath, make the flag fly right, remove the goldfinch flag from our society. And once again, I ask you all to vote for me. Pledge allegiance to the flag on the day you come to vote. And pray to my Maker, the Lord Jesus Christ, and my Savior. Have a nice day. BasilMarceau.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was BasilMarceau.com. Now, I'm gonna guess that there are probably some of you saying, wait, hold up. This ain't for real. There's no way it could be. And the answer is, yes, this is for real. This is, in fact, a legitimate and legal campaign for governor of Tennessee in 2010. If it wasn't, you would be watching the second part of the copyright wars right now. But on the subject of topics, you may have noticed that Basil's a little bit off, but he still seems to be of a bit more sound of mind than Jesse Slaughter's dad, which you should keep in mind for later. But anyway, here's some background information on BasilMarceau.com according to Wikipedia. He was born on May 26, 1952 in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. In the early 70s, Basil served in the United States Marine Corps under Force Recon and made it to the rank of Lance Corporal. He later attended Edmondson Junior College in Chattanooga and earned an associate's degree in business administration. His resume of jobs include inventor, historian, importer-exporter, and entrepreneur, although I have to question his credentials as a historian.
It's a concrete block there. It says this memorial is dedicated to all the people who died for World War I. And they got a 9-foot statue of a Greek soldier. And I went and looked in history and found out in World War I, the Greeks didn't even fight World War I.
Sometime after that, he got married to Getona Deaver, with whom he had 2 children. In 2002, Basil tried to run for governor of Tennessee as an independent, but was not successful. So 8 years later, in 2010, he decided that perhaps he would have better luck running as a Republican in a primarily Republican state. Now back to his campaign. Basil, because he is honest and did not accept campaign contributions in order to be bought and sold like your typical politician, had little money for TV or radio ads or even holding big rallies and events. Instead, he used his website and YouTube channel as his primary method of reaching the people of Tennessee with his message regarding important issues like gun control.
Hello, citizens. I'm not a cop. Don't let me scare you. I'm BasilMarceau.com, your Republican governor for Tennessee. I'm here today next to this T-86L aircraft. I picked this location because I like it a lot. Really looks good. Hope it stays there forever. I'm here to talk about gun control. Many people died for gun control in the military to make sure our Constitution stays full and alive and not be a dead letter as is quoted. So I have to look back at our forefathers, how they wrote the Constitution. They knew we had murderers on the streets. They know we had nutcakes, but they didn't put no subparagraphs in there concerning them. So who am I to say I'm gonna write an amendment to the Constitution and say nutcakes can't have guns, criminals can't have guns. So I have to go look at the Constitution myself, and it says there that we have a right to bear arms against our government. At the moment, that'd be very difficult. The government have Patriot missiles. We have slingshots with stones. And they want to put numbers on the stone to find out where it came from. Well, I'm not for any of that. So I'm gonna have to recall all licenses, all permits, and allow everyone in the state to have a gun. And if you don't have one, maybe I'll even fine you $10 for not having one, because I want you all in a group of 25 or more to come to Nashville with your guns and tell me I'm doing wrong. And then we'll sit down at the table and discuss it, and 10 to 1, being that we, the people in charge, and I'm only borrowing the seat temporarily for 8 years. So I'm gonna have to let them rule.
Another interesting point was 2010 was also the same year the Supreme Court of the United States handed down the controversial Citizens United ruling, which allowed corporations and unions nearly unlimited campaign funding. This ruling upset most Americans as it gave rise to the dreaded super PACs, which is why elections in the United States are more of a media circus than a serious affair, now more than ever in the 21st century. But knowing it was a hot-button issue, BasilMarceau.com gave his own position on campaign finance reform.
Hello, citizens. This is BasilMarceau.com, the Republican candidate for Tennessee governor. I'm standing here today at this locomotive in this gorgeous park in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm going to take the power of this locomotive and I'm going to run through state finance and the budget to find corruption and try to narrow down how corporate people who have crap loads of money who comes in our state and thinks they can just buy their way to your heart to make them vote for you, have you vote for them. They either have you vote for them or they don't let you vote. Or they make a way that you don't vote. Your signs have to be 25 feet off the ground, away from the curb, nobody sees them. Or media don't put you in a newspaper. If you're not the top 3, you're the other guy. Don't even mention your name. Like myself, after running several campaigns, I never took one penny from anyone. I'd rather lose than take money. I believe I have to owe someone if I even shake their hand. They look for something. If I won, they'd probably want to come over and make me give them dental or something. So I'm going to take the campaign thing and take just a little bit of money out of our budget every day, and I'm going to throw it in a special fund where everyone who runs gets the equal amount of money.
Basil, despite his practically no-budget gubernatorial campaign, was nonetheless soon to be subject to a lot of media attention. He was featured on news shows and late-night talk shows such as MSNBC, Jimmy Kimmel, Bubba the Love Sponge, The Soup, Opie and Anthony, and a host of a bunch of other shows. But most notably, he was featured 3 times on The Colbert Report. And on The Colbert Report, Stephen urged his viewers in Tennessee to vote for Marceau in the primary.
But a new challenger recently appeared on WSVM, Nashville's news leader. Jim?
I'm BasilMarceau.com, the Republican candidate for governor.
Now, you might be surprised. You might be surprised to learn that BasilMarceau.com has a website. Presumably BasilMarceau.com.com. And on it, he makes a lot of great promises to follow the oath of the Constitution, to be a people person, and to ensure that any national insurance program doesn't require measuring of the waist. Or presumably the neck. Now, he also takes a very bold stance against slavery, and particularly slavery at traffic stops. And if you're not sold yet, folks, he has promised that if you vote for him, he'll give you immunity from all state crimes for the rest of your life. Tennessee, Colbert Nation, vote for BasilMarceau.com. And don't worry if you're not a Republican, because Tennessee has what's called an open primary, which means that Democrats can also vote in the Republican primary, possibly a few times. Judging by Basil, the room seemed pretty relaxed there. So all my Tennessee viewers, the primary is Thursday. Get out there and vote. Together, we can make basilmarceau.com into basilmarceau.gov.
Apart from the Colbert Report, he was granted an interview on Glenn Beck's radio program. On it, Beck tested basilmarceau.com's knowledge of the Constitution, the government, and asked him about his platform, which resulted in an interesting conversation, to say the least.
Let me go to basilmarceau.com. Basilmarceau.com. Basil.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Fine, Glenn. I watch you all the time on your news broadcast on Fox.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pipe down, boys.
And I watched you last night too, when you're trying to separate the difference between Republican and democracy. There, that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Except you missed one thing.
What'd he miss?
We take an oath to republic and not a democracy, so we have to Caesar was a democracy, so we have to kick them out and we actually say the Pledge of Allegiance and believe in a republic.
Quote. Rascality. Yeah.
Basil,
thing.
Basil.
Yes.
You wear a badge around your neck. Were you a police officer or a sheriff, or what is that badge that you wear around your neck?
Okay, that badge. I'm the only one in the United States that wears it. Several years ago, matter of fact, Glenn, I started my year the same year you started your radio show, 2001, when a law enforcement officer put a gun to my face at a stop sign and pulled my friends out the car and kicked the crap out of him. He was a Navy SEAL like Rambo. I'm sure Rambo wouldn't like that much. So I told the officer then that I was going to look for the law that allows a Marine to arrest anyone who breaks the Constitution.
And this is why you're going to ban all traffic stops, right?
No, well, I'm actually the traffic stops itself. The second part, where get out of the car. What's your name part of town? Who's out there? What's underneath your seat? Hey, what's that dead body in the trunk?
I hate it when they ask me.
Always do that.
I hate it when they ask me about the dead body in my trunk.
Basil, shouldn't
if they have enough evidence to get you for those crimes, why don't they just take a minute and go over to the judge and get a warrant and convince him they have enough evidence first?
No, I agree with that. I agree with that, but
me in the head.
I agree with that. But I mean, if he can see the dead body in your trunk, he doesn't need the search warrant, does he? I mean,
won't see it if there's no traffic stop.
It's the way you interpret the Constitution. The Constitution says you have to have to look through my window or through my keyhole in my trunk lid. You have to have a warrant to go through my papers.
No, I know that, but I mean, if somebody's saying, "What about that dead body in your trunk?"
Yeah.
Isn't that something maybe if a cop knows there's a dead body, I don't want him opening up your trunk. Well, I'm torn because if you have a dead body in there, it might be a good thing. But I don't want a cop to be opening up your trunk without a warrant, et cetera, and they can't do that. You're right on that. But, I mean, if he says to you while you're sitting in the car, what's up with the dead body in your trunk? And there is a dead body in the trunk.
And he will bring larger badges to Tennessee if you just elect basilmarceau.com.
Okay, good luck today in the...
So go read those laws, Glenn.
I will.
And then you'll too much to get into over a 5-second interview with you.
Thank you, Basil.
Thank you, Basil.
At this point, it seemed Basil had a lot going for him. A grassroots campaign effort, a genuine concern for the people, the country, the state, and had some media publicity to back him up. It was finally time to test the legitimacy of his campaign and his desire to hold public office. basilmarceau.com's next move was to partake in the debates just prior to the primary. Here is how it went.
How do you feel corporate financing has influenced the modern political spectrum? And what can you do to ensure concerned voters that your stances are your own? Okay, Mr. Marceau.
This is going to be a tough one. Okay, I guess I have to start like this. We have a candidate that's running. I don't talk bad about it, so let's talk metaphorically speaking for a moment. We have a candidate running here who owns a gas company. Now, I take notice over the past years, this gas price, man, it goes up and down like a roller coaster. And we have no control of it whatsoever. So here we have a gas company guy that raises our gas price, a 10 to a 50, a dollar, whatever he wants, and we can't stop him. He can do that for 2-3 years. And you know how much money that come out to be? Exactly how much that he's spending in his campaign. So I'm going to take a couple of the dollars that I have left after I lose a $250 million, $500 million on traffic stops, the current budget, and when it's all through, I'm going to take a little bit of the money and put it a little bit every day. And if I multiply it every day, they say if I put a penny a day, every day I'll be a millionaire.
What is your position on legalization of marijuana for medical use? Mr. Marceau.
I have to do like the Supreme Court does when they can't find an answer on a technical question like this. I have to go back in history, maybe back as far as the founders. And if he didn't want people to drink beer or smoke a pipe, they would have made a subdivision under the Constitution of it. But so you had to look down the Constitution. Well, it says there, both in state and federal, that the government is supposed to let us be as happy as we want to be.
Well, make of all that what you will, but combine that with all the other previous factors, the date soon became August 7th, 2010, the date the Tennessee gubernatorial primaries took place. Basil was one of 5 Republicans running in the primary to be candidate for governor. Other people running for the governor in the Republican primaries included Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey, Bill Haslam, who served as mayor of Knoxville, Zach Wamp, who was a congressman, and Joe Kirkpatrick, who was a businessman. BasilMarceau.com faced some tough competition. So how did it work out for him? Well, he won! And later he went on into the general election to defeat Mike McWhorter in the general election to become BasilMarceau.gov, the 49th governor of Tennessee. Yeah, just kidding. Sadly, the truth is BasilMarceau.com finished dead last in the Republican primaries held that day, with just over 3,500 votes, a distant 5th behind Joe Kirkpatrick, who actually dropped out before the primary was even held. Bill Haslam won the primary and went on to defeat Mike McWhorter in the general election. Ron Ramsey continued to be lieutenant governor under his watch, and Bill Haslam later won the 2014 re-election and is still the incumbent governor of Tennessee. So, sadly, Basil lost. But then again, he said he'd rather lose than take a campaign contributions. He died with his boots on. And remember when I said he might be of a better sound mind than Gene Leonhardt? Well, apparently the day before the primary, the Chattanooga Free Times Press ran a story detailing that Basil Marceau had a small criminal record and mostly consisted of misdemeanor traffic violations, and there are even 7 cases that Basil was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Jeez. You think they would mentally evaluate everyone else running for public office? But anyway, did America see the last of BasilMarceau.com? Nope. He returned very shortly in December of 2010, a month after the election. This time it had nothing to do with politics, but he went viral again after writing his own Christmas song, performing it, and making a music video of it that he and his wife starred in. The song and video is entitled Come Christmas.
Now, a few months ago here on the show, we played you a clip of a man running for governor of Tennessee. His name is Basil Marceau. He's now made a Christmas music video. And we saw this video this morning. It was just like Christmas came early to the office. We just have to play it for you in order for you to appreciate it.
Oh, I guess I'll have to wait until Christmas. Dancing by the brass band, won't it be grand? It's gonna be a night to remember, because Christmas turned me on.
I am willing to bet some of you got a kick out of that. I remember one girl in my class did. And what luck for the people who all want this song. You can purchase it on iTunes. But now, since it has been almost 6 years, what has become of basilmarceau.com? Well, his website's domain is up for sale if anyone wants to buy it. He also has a couple of other channels where he still makes videos, but I don't think he's made anything in 2 or 3 years and really has nothing worth discussing here. But if you want to see them, links will be in the description. And with that, we conclude yet another saga. But since this is an election year, and politics are becoming more and more common, Basil's well-intentioned but ultimately flawed campaign due to the fact he had no financial resources tell a very harrowing tale of American politics in the 21st century. He is by far the most pure and innocent person I have ever come across running for public office. And because of that, it proved that nice guys are doomed to always finish last. As of right now, the presumptive Republican nominee is Donald Trump, and it seems more likely than not the Democratic nominee will be Hillary Clinton. Strangely, the two most reviled individuals in this entire election. But you know, I remember back early last year when we all thought it would be Hillary and Jeb Bush, which is still a turnoff to many people, if not most people. But still, most people I know do not like the looks of this election, and you could bet this election will have record low voter turnout, simply because most people cannot bring themselves to vote for Hillary or Trump. And to those people, I say you know what you have to do now after watching this. Do not buy into the lesser of two evils crap. Vote for someone who you know is good and will do good for the country. For my American subscribers, if you will be eligible to vote in November, and do not want to vote for Hillary or Trump, write in basilmarceau.com for president. It's a long shot, I know, but if he pulls it off, it will certainly be worth it. And that's all for now. Stay tuned for the Copyright Wars Part 2.
I think I already know I shot the mistletoe, even though it's early December. I know we'll be putting up lights come Christmas.
Hey, why Thomas Jefferson was writing the Constitution, but I bet you he had a good beer mug there for a beer.